Nginibingelele babukele emakhaya ku-Expressions igama lami nguThayini Ntshiza ngizalo Madlamini namhlanje sise-Unity Secondary School sokhuluma kabanzi ngodaba lama-sanitary towels. Umbuzo uthi kungani ama-sanitary towels engatholakali kalula mahhala njengama-condoms. So namhlanje ngihlanganyele nabantu abasha abafundayo kulesi sikole sizokhuluma kabanzi ngalolu daba. Niyawathola nina ama-sanitary pads la esikoleni mahhala?
Siyawathola but not really oftenly.
Not really often. So leyo nto le niphatha kanjani ukuthi ningawatholi noma yinini mangabe niwadinga?
I think abanye baya affecteka because abanye they don't really feel comfortable ukuza esikoleni without any sanitary towel abayigqokile. And leyo izobabuyisela emuva endabeni zesikole because abanye bayalove emakibo bahlala emakibo because they're on their periods and basaba ukuthi maybe bazosiblothela or something and abafana bayahlekisa ngabo.
Kufuneka ama-sanitary towels in the clinics. They should be given free. And then condoms should be sold because it's their choice to have sex. And it is natural for us to go on periods. We don't choose, like it just happens.
Singathanda ukuthi government is providing ama-sanitary towels let's say ekolweni or maybe avizela amantombazana endaweni eyodwa maybe groundini yasemphakathini or something like that distribute ama-sanitary towels to girls.
I really think that it's time we educate the boys and we normalize the concept of menstruation amongst girls, especially in high school, because it's frowned upon now, and I feel like we really need to move forward from the 50s and we have periods. Let's move on from it.
I think the government should just work with the local municipalities and bring everybody on board, or work with people who can relate to the state. People who know ukuthi kunjani ukuya kuma periods without having a sanitary pad on you.
And on that note, we want to say hello, Dumelang, Sanbonani, South Africa. Welcome to Expressions, your #1 current affairs show here on SABC 1. And if you don't know this by now, Expressions is definitely the place for you to air your views. I'm your host, Jacqueline Mapala.
Kanti-ke I'm your host, umxolisi wakwamasango sinibingelele sinamukele sizakini bukhoma ngolesibili kusihlwa. Now today, Jackie, we're discussing the pressing issue of sanitary towels. Siyabuza-ke siyi-Expressions, should schoolgirls be provided with free sanitary towels?
That's a very important question. Can you imagine not being able to go to school because you are on your periods? Well, this seems to be the reality of many schoolgirls from underprivileged backgrounds as they lack the money to buy sanitary products. Many girls also have to put themselves at the risk of infections by using unhygienic alternatives to sanitary pads such as newspapers or even tissues and leaves. As a result, there's so many girls who are missing out on at least a quarter of their schooling.
Oh, that's a sad reality indeed, Jackie. Well, a young man is doing his part to make a difference. Now, this is through a remarkable initiative, Keep a Girl Child at School, and that is 21-year-old Botselo Ramane, who raises funds and donates sanitary pads to South African schoolgirls. Now, see Expressions, we were in Mafikeng to witness this great initiative. Do take a look at this.
Sanitary pads, a need that has seen girls missing school. This is what encouraged Fantuka All Blacks' idea to keep a girl child at school.
I grew up around ladies. Where I saw struggles. I'm from a village where I would get people coming to my house asking for help from my mom, because this is something that has been happening from my family. So I would see ladies coming to my house and then leaving with this pack that I didn't know what's inside.
The learners are experiencing challenges. As for sanitary pads, that is the #1 priority because of the changes that the learners go through that we cannot dodge because it is nature.
Botselo Ramane donated sanitary pads to girls at Tutong Primary School in Mahikeng Northwest.
For some of us, we don't even know the price of the sanitary pads because it's a big deal, to some of us, but to other kids, something serious, a need.
o tshwanetse gore o nne le di-pete every day la o se mo dipirotong because of sometimes o kgona go nna mo dipirotong o sa ikaelela o sa nagana wena o sena di-pet. That's why re tshwanetse go nna le di-pete every time.
Re kopa government e re di-pete mahala ka gore le di-condom di ke mahala le rona ba di rese mahala ka ga rena tšhelete nakong go di reka.
Young girls speaking loud and proud about this very important discussion that we're having in studio. But I'm not going to be discussing this by myself. I'm joined by my studio audience. I'm a studio guest. I mean, I would have loved a studio audience, but my studio guest, I'm joined by Uponzo Pelani, who is a health reporter, and I'm also joined by Anki Mutsuahaya, who is the Executive Director for National Youth Service Programs. And as I always say, the best things come in twos. And if you're wondering what's happened to my co-host Umkolisi, he's on the other side of our studio, manning our social media, bringing some of your insights on this also important conversation that we're having today. But that's happening a little bit later with Umko. But for now, we're going to get straight into it. Ladies, welcome again to Expressions.
Thank you for having me.
I think I saw you guys. You know, like they say, women, you come as one and you come as many. I was like, studio audience. I think your power is so palpable in studio. But Ponzo, let me start with you. I mean, you've done a lot of work around this issue of sanitary towels. You've even submitted a proposal around this particular issue. I mean, give us an understanding on how serious, how grave this issue is that is affecting young girls.
Well, Jackie, I think it's a very big issue. As you said, the state where South Africa is right now, with our tax just going up at the beginning of the month in April, and just the level of inequality that exists in this country. And it's important that pads, a necessary item like that, is 1, 0 rated as a no tax, and 2, it's free to, particularly when we look at schools, quintile 1, 2, and 3 schools. And those are usually the no-fee schools, or the school fees is very little, because already those schools have been identified by the Department of Education that they are where the most needy of learners are. So I think it's important that if these learners are coming from households where they can't even get iskaftin, something as basic as burotoka, peanut butter and jam, let's say. What more for something that is as expensive as pads?
So you're looking at some kind of tax alleviation, just so that the prices of sanitary pads and sanitary towels, at least they're affordable, right?
So when I presented my policy proposal to Parliament in 2016, my 2 suggestions were that it's 0 rated, so it is not taxed in the same. Yes. Okay. So, or it's regarded as a basic or a necessity in the same way brown bread and milk and other 0 rated items.
And let's talk about this issue of necessity, and I think I want to bring Anki into this conversation. You can't help but get the sense that it's not a priority, in the sense that you heard one of the young girls saying that if they're providing condoms freely in schools, why can't they provide sanitary pads in schools? We don't choose to be on our periods the same way that somebody makes a choice to, to have sex or to engage in any kind of sexual activity. This is natural for us. Why are we not getting the kind of support and the kind of, support that is required? Maybe this is an opportunity for you to maybe start talking about the kind of work that you've done.
I would agree with the young woman who says not enough is done in this space. I totally agree with that. There's a lot of work that government has to do, but it also requires collaborative effort from different government departments. As we speak, to show that government takes this serious, the Department of Women has put to cabinet a framework that really speaks to the issue that Ponzo is speaking about. So we do take it serious as government. But through the work that we do as the NYDA, we work with the downtrodden of society. We have bias towards rural communities. So there may not be research that says so many young people are affected by this, but from our engagement with young people, we get a sense that there's a likelihood that a young person as an A girl maybe missing school 4 days of school because they do not have sanitary pads. You know, it is not easy for a young person to sit in class, not having adequate protection, not knowing that you may swell yourself, what's going to happen when you stand up. It affects your confidence, but also it affects their learning capabilities because you're missing time from school. So from where we are sitting, this is a very serious problem, and we are trying to address it as different government departments. So we work with schools, we work with local government. There is a lot that has to be done, but indeed there is something that is being done by government in this space.
It's interesting when you speak about the fact that there isn't really a number to it, because I think the first question is, if you're rolling out strategies around coming up with solution, how are you doing it if you don't have a number? But I mean, I think we'll unpack that a little bit later. Mobohedi Gokhaya, make sure you stay tuned. You're watching Expressions. We'll be back after this.
I guess you're still watching your #1 youth current affairs show. This is Expressions. We're talking about the need to provide girls with sanitary towels. Now, Siabuzage, should schoolgirls be provided with free sanitary towels? I'm now joined by two young minds, Uputi Ubutselo Ramone, who's from Fantuka All Black, as well as Bandile Nozazio, a student from Unity Senior Secondary School. Good evening, young minds, and welcome to Expressions. Great to have you on the show.
Thank you. Evening, and thanks for hosting us today.
Lovely. Now, Lapikaya, do make sure that you get this conversation going on Facebook as well as on Twitter. We on Twitter is Expressions_10. Before we get into our conversation, Jackie, there's this question that came through on social media where young people really want to know, how do they really respond to the demand of the pads? How do they really supply and know how much is needed when they don't really know how many girls actually leave school? Does anyone in the panel take that?
I think I can... Any one of you.
I think the biggest problem in South Africa right now is that there has not been any peer-reviewed research that has been done to find out how many. But like I said, using the Stats South Africa's reports on inequality and household budgets and everything, we can kind of like extrapolate how many people. So by focusing on the households that maybe have a single mother headed or they have one stream of income, then we can have an estimate. But I think that the government needs to commit into properly researching so that we know the prevalence rate and we're able to attack the problem and solve it efficiently.
Sure. Okay. Butselo, let's talk to you, young man. Budwami, when now you are a gentleman, osabalalisa ama sanitary towels. What really sparked this for you?
What I can tell you is that I'm from a family that's dominated by women.
Yeah.
So I grew up seeing this funny packet in the house and everywhere, and I always wondered what's going on. So at school, I've always been a leader from primary to high school. So there would be times where I would be doing something very important in class, and then I would see this girl falling sick and then having to be taken out. As a leader, I have to go to the principal or to the teacher and trying to explain something that I don't know. And now it became difficult for me. It became my need to say, you know what, I'm going to learn more about this. And then I honestly won't wait for the government to help girls with sanitary pads. That's what I can tell you. What I will do is I believe in community interaction. So what I do is I talk to my community, ask them to donate as little as they can. And I can say it's amazing on the response that I got that I managed to reach 500 packets of sanitary pads.
So wonke lama sanitary towels asuka emphakathini and then you distribute them to umphakathi still. So how do you identify which school comes first? Which school you need to prioritize, for instance?
Honestly, it's a first come first serve kind of situation. Yeah. This school that I donated to recently saw on my birthday, it was a school that one of the teachers there is a mother from my friend that I went to school with. So she came and explained to me that, you know what, we have a girls' camp every year and we are struggling with getting funding or sponsorship for the sanitary pads. Can you please try and help us with this so that we can at least sustain them? But to make it different, I didn't just come and donate the sanitary pads. I went there with people that I work with, people that I know have an influence in the community, and then you don't only give someone something, you teach them how to sustain, and then you teach them the importance of holding on to something you give them and knowing the importance of of appreciating what you're given.
Okay, ma'am, now let's bring you into this conversation. Now, you are a young lady. It's very important to bring sanitary towels to schools. Why do you feel strongly about this?
I feel strong about this because some girls skip school because they're on their periods. I think sanitary pads should not be sold because you come from different backgrounds and our parents cannot afford sanitary pads. And I think the government should work with the sanitary pads brand owners so that pads can be distributed to every girl in every school or even communities, not just in urban areas, also in rural areas.
Is there a need for them? Are there kids who probably need them?
Yeah. In my school, we do get pads, but then not like all the girls get them. They just check your background. I believe that every girl in every school must be given the pads, not looking at their backgrounds.
Okay, from that, let's just quickly have a look and check in with our social media pages. Ricardo Jordan says, yes, why not? Every schoolgirl should be given free sanitary towels every month or every 2 months, and they should be available every time at school. Just like condoms, they're available at every time at the clinic. And that's the famous quote that you gave us in that insert. Utena, some people choose to have sex, but you don't choose your period.
It happens naturally. We don't choose to go on a period. Going on period, it's uncomfortable. It's even more hard knowing that you don't have money to buy sanitary towels.
All right. Usonwabile says KZN is already doing it. This needs proper monitoring by government because there is a lot of corruption involved by the service providers, which of course, Jackie, also takes us to that thing on research, that thorough research needs to be done. And of course, it's also important for the dignity of the girls, who will definitely reduce absenteeism. Now, Njobusuwazi Gegoti, from that page to our WhatsApp page, this is what you had to say as your expression.
Yes, all schoolgirls deserve the privilege of being provided with sanitary towels. Periods don't just happen by accident, they happen to every female at some point in their lives. And we deserve to give them support and all the love and care that they need, in the form of actually providing the pads that they need as well. So yes, we should be giving them sanitary towels.
I'm sure this is something that is also closest to your heart.
Yes. The giving back of sanitary towels, it's very important, my brother. We are guys. We know as much as we know about sanitary pads to this point, but they need to also help. They need to also extend your hand and say, you know what, as much as I don't know about this, but the little that I have to say...
just make do with what we already have. Now we do continue the conversation via social media platforms. This all-important conversation continues and gets wrapped up after this. Now, this is Expressions.
Welcome back. You're still watching Expressions, your #1 current affairs show here on SABC. And we're asking a very important, I think, poll question in studio today. And obviously, we're asking whether sanitary towels, or at least pads, should be provided in our schools. And I mean, we need to wrap this up. I mean, I think this is definitely a pivotal issue. It's a very important question that we are asking around that. But I think I want to find out from you, Angie, what is the way forward?
I think firstly, we need to recognize that this is a human rights issue. It touches on gender inequality, and we need to look at it as such. As the NYDA, we will continue to do the work that we are doing in this space. We'll continue to give young people sanitary pads at schools. We work, yes, we do not have scientific data that we are responding to, but we will continue to go into schools, work with local government, work with schools. The principals know that the young people who need the pads, we will continue to give them the pads. But we think that it is important that whilst we do that, we are supported by sexuality education. It is not just a program that goes on its own. It's supported by some education.
It's not just about you doing, at least doing the work on your own. It's about getting a lot of stakeholders coming on board.
It's important.
I want to give once also just an opportunity, 30 seconds, just to have your closing comment on this.
I think in closing, having done all the research that I have over the past 5 years, I think one is to be more open around gender. So for instance, when I report on this issue, I never say like schoolgirls, I say learners, because not everyone who menstruates is or identifies as a girl or woman. And lastly, that...
Well, thank you so much.
We had to cut you. Sorry about that, Bonzo. Yeah.
Always great. Now, thank you so much for joining us, ladies. Now, Lapikai, thank you so much for joining us. From all of us here at Expressions, we wish you a spectacular evening going forward. Now, we're being played out by Unity Senior Secondary School with a tribute to Mamwini Madikizela Mandela. And, of course, your poll results. Now, 95% of you thinks yes, they should be supplied, and about 5% say no. Well, from all of us here at Expressions, thank you so much for joining us. Till next time, good night and God bless.
Madikizela kawe mama wesizwe kawe lama kawe ulikawe kawe Madikizela kawe mama wesizwe kawe lama kawe ulikawe kawe. She did not die, but she multiplied. Hence why we're here. Bambelela, musugu yegelela, leminieza, nenjabulo. Bambelela, musugu yegelela, leminieza, nenjabulo. Bambelela, musugu yegelela.